Okay, so as I was mentioning, we'll go through a little bit of what is manual testing, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time there because most of you are from manual testing background. Then we'll move on to automation testing. I'll show you a couple of demos as to what automation testing has to offer to us. Plus, our focus or my focus is going to be with respect to how the course will be conducted. I mean, that is something you will be more interested in as to what I'm going to cover as a part of this course and how is it that I'm going to help you to learn Java automation, Java with with Selenium automation, as in considering that you don't have any previous testing or other automation experience or programming experience. So how is it that I'm going to help you to transform from manual testing to a automation tester? So how is that journey going to be? I'm going to focus more on that. Plus, we already know that what is we have a fair idea or maybe a rough idea of what is Selenium. It's a web-based automation tool, right? But there is more to Selenium, which I'll talk about as to what else it has to offer and why it is a successful tool and why, even though there have been a couple of other testing tools in the market, what is the promise of Selenium that it has captured a market in such a big way? Okay, so we'll talk of all those things as well. So, so agenda for today's discussion is going to be introduction. We just have completed that. Then, what is manual testing? I'll not spend a lot of time here. Then automation testing. What exactly is Selenium? Right? It's a suite basically. I'll talk more of that. Then the course details, and then testimonials, as in what existing people who have already studied from me, what they have to say, and then leftovers meaning what do you do if you miss a class, what if you want to where do you find my recordings and videos of all the classes that I'm going to have, okay, and how will I help you in writing your CVs and all those things. So please ask questions, please make it interactive. You have any questions, please interrupt. It will be easy for me to explain my point of view, and I believe you can benefit out of this demonstration. Okay, so this is my website. Generally this is the first slide in the session or in the demo session. Why? Because it has most of the assignments, the projects and the blocks that you are going to require as a part of this course. Okay, so what are we going to learn today? So some of the challenges that we face as a part of manual testing, and then how automation testing beats manual testing. Then what is Selenium as an automation tool? Then what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of Selenium? Then a Selenium with a small comparison with other tool, maybe QTP. Then Selenium as a suite meaning Selenium is not just Selenium, it has a collection of things which we should know of. Then a little bit of demo maybe so that you can consolidate the fact that yes, it offers what it promises. So I will show a little bit of that to you. Okay, so okay, now we all are from manual testing background. So I'll quickly go through this slide. As you can see, when we are trying to do manual testing, what we do is we do requirement analysis is done. If it is not us, it is maybe our project lead or product owner or whosoever it is. Then we have a test plan created. We all know what is a test plan, right? In the test plan, we'll identify at high level what needs to be tested, how it needs to be tested, what are the different kind of testing that needs to be done. Then we started designing our test cases, and then we start the test case execution. Once the execution starts, then we start logging defects if there are any, right? And defect has a life cycle that you create a defect and then it gets assigned to somebody. Then even if it is before it is assigned to somebody, you have to verify whether it's a genuine defect, right? Because defect is any deviation from what was the actual functionality, right? So whether if it is a genuine defect, if it is, then it gets assigned to a developer maybe, and then he'll fix it, he or she will fix it, and it will come back to you. You'll verify and close it. And if it is still not fixed, it will go in that iterative cycle, right? So this is a general life cycle in a manual testing, right? Now let's take a use case of this guy who's trying to fill in a form. Okay, and he's what he is doing is that he's trying to fill in a form which has username, password, name, address, and all these fields. Yes. Now, if you were one of these guys sitting or a girl sitting to fill in this form, if I ask you to do it once, two times, three times, you'll do it, right? But if it goes to 10, 15, 20, 100, and or even more number of times, then you will start getting bored. You will start getting, I will say frustrated. Of course, you will, because this is not much of a value addition. I mean, if you do it once, two times, five times, 10 times, you actually are not learning anything. It's a mechanical work you are doing, right? So what you will face is you will find it boring, and of course it is time consuming. I mean, it's you have to type in data every time, right? Then it is tedious and it is prone to errors, and you start doing mistakes. Why? Because after a certain amount of time, if you are not getting interested in what you are trying to do, you will tend to do mistakes. It's a human tendency, we do it. Okay, let's fast forward and let's try to solve this problem with the help of automation. So let's look at difference between manual versus automated. Now let's say you as a manual tester start learning automation, and then you write your scripts. So let's say you are this guy sitting here, you write your automation script. Now, this automation script can be executed simultaneously on different machines. Okay, and you have the output generated for you, and you can mail this output, and it will be you can use that report to do your data analysis of the output that is coming. I mean, though it looks a very easy thing, but it requires a lot of time and effort in terms of learning Selenium, implementing Selenium, getting your infrastructure and architecture ready to get all of this done, isn't it? But it is a one-time investment. As in, if you have written a code to do automation of that page, which I was trying to show to you, that is all you have to do. Once it is done, it is done. You can use it once, twice, 10 times, 100 times, 200 times. So let me quickly show you a small demo here. So let's say I have this page here. Now in this page, if you will see, in this page, if you will see, if I click on add user, this forms looks pretty much similar to the one I was trying to show you in the slide. Is that right? Now if I ask you, some of you, to fill this form, you will take a definite amount of time with respect to filling in these details, choosing the different checkboxes, drop downs, and all those stuff, right? Now before I start doing automation on that, let me show to you the existing users that are there. So I have users from 100 to 106. I have like 6 plus 1 7 users are there. Let me add 5 more here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fire my automation script. So it's okay, you will not understand anything with respect to code now, but that's fine, don't worry about it. So I will go here. This is my automation script I'm going to fire. So this is an Eclipse editor which we are going to use for development purpose. So I will go to, okay, so this is the let's say I'm adding 50, will be a big number. For now I'm adding 5 users. Okay, so let me right click and run this program. Don't worry about how and what is happening, just we'll see some action to show that how easy it is to fill up that form once you have written your automation script. Okay, so my program is getting executed and it will launch a browser for me. So okay, so here the browser is launched. So if you will see, it is filling in details for me, right? And that's pretty fast, a lot faster than what you or I could do as persons trying to do it manually, right? So while we are talking, it would have filled up 5 records for example, and it's pretty much done. Okay, let me go back to that page here. Let me refresh. So there were up till 106. Let me refresh this page and I have another 5 records created for me, right? So this is what we achieve with automation, as in we have spent a lot of time, lot of effort, and it's a repeatable task you can do more than once, right? Sorry. Yeah, I mean, for now I have made same data, but you could read the data from Excel sheet. Since this is a demo, I have just kept the data as same person itself. But you can of course change the data. Okay. So currently I have hard coded the data within my program, but what we can do is we can write a program to read data from Excel sheet. Per record will constitute one of this record here. Each row in the Excel sheet will constitute one record in the system. Okay, and that's how. So this was just for representation purpose, that's why I'm having the same data. Okay, now coming back to the slide here, so this is what I showed you, that this was faster execution you were able to achieve, plus it is more accurate. Why it is accurate? Because once you have written your code, it will always do the things the right way it is supposed to do, right? You will have more accuracy, plus lesser investment in human resource. So let's say, given that you all are working on a project, for example, and you are trying to do testing of the releases that you happen every release. Now, to begin with, I need four of you. But let's say your company agrees to do automation around it. So what you will do is you will build scripts, you will create a system and infrastructure. And once you are done with that, then subsequently, it would not need four of you to do testing. A single person with few hours can execute these test cases, do report analysis, and all those things can be done. So, I mean, there is lesser investment in human resources with respect to how effectively you are used in the project, while the test case is getting executed automatically. So for example, let me go back here. Let me say I add 50 records, 50 more records. I will go and just execute this script, run as TestNG. So it is executing by itself. I don't have to worry about looking at how it is happening, right? Meanwhile, I can focus on more productive work. I can give more output to my project lead or manager, and he will be able and happy to give me a better increment because I have given him more output. Yes, so it's a win-win situation for all of us. So it's filling in like 50 records. I'll minimize this and I'll continue to do something else which I want to do. Okay, so that means it's a lesser investment in human resources. Then support for regression testing. So we all know what is regression, right? Regression is when I'm sure you people will know, but I'll still explain it. So when you have a release or a bug fix or something like that, you want to make sure that something which was working has not broken down, right? So, and as you will know that 95% of regression testing cases are almost same, right? I mean, because we have already done testing and we are just retesting to verify that something has not broken. So uh, don't you think that if you have to do same 100 or 200 or 300 test cases time and time over again and again and again, you will get bored, irritated, frustrated, right? So don't you think it's a very good candidate to automate something like that? Yes. Then frequent execution. So if I were to tell you to fill that form once, two times, three times, five times, 10 times, after that you will say, yeah, I have already done it so many times, right? But there is no problem with automation. It will do it for you as many times as you want it to do, right? And then it supports light out execution, means when the program is getting executed or when your automation script is getting executed, you don't have to be sitting in front of your machine, right? For this execution to happen, you can continue to do your work, go home, go for lunch, go for tea break, or whatever you want. So light out execution means you are not required to be present in front of your machine when all of this is happening. Okay, so any questions I can take so far? Okay, now this is a small graphical representation in terms of effort that you are going to save when you have done automation testing or manual testing. Okay, so I believe while we were talking, maybe we must have talked for like 5 minutes at max or even less than that. But while we were doing this, let me go back here and see that if 50 users got added, so it was 1111. Sorry, 111. Let me refresh it. I've got pretty good number of users added to my system, right? 50 of them. So as you can just understand now that you are being productive, you can do other things, and your work is also getting done with respect to testing that you are trying to do, right? So this is how you end up saving your time with respect to the number of hours that you would otherwise spend on doing manual testing of an application, right? Then this is again the cumulative cost that you save as you move along. So if I were to put four of you year after year, or let's say release after release in a project, the company would be paying for four of you, right? But if four of you automate it, I can use maybe within an hour what you are doing in couple of hours, right? I can achieve that, and with your time which is saved, I can get more work for the company, right? And company can earn more and they can also pay you more, right? So it's a win-win situation for everybody. Who see, basically we are living in a world where the client is always screaming at us to give the output or the product as soon as they can, right? Everybody wants to hit the market as soon as they can, otherwise somebody else will eat your market share. So you want to do things quickly, so this is why people are all going after automation, right? Because they want to what we say, go to the market earlier than the competitors, right? And then the question is, or maybe you can help me answer this time, can everything be automated? Yes, no, what can be automated?
When a new project comes in, first time SIT needs to be done. So
Okay.
I think that needs manual intervention.
Okay, fine. What else? Anybody else? Okay. Yeah, captcha is basically a mechanism to prevent automation. So if I have my website, I put captcha deliberately so that you cannot automate. So okay, fine. That is okay. Anybody else? Yes. So sorry. Okay, that's it. Fine. Anything else you think? Okay. So see, just because you know automation, it does not mean. Okay, so just because we can automate things, it does not mean we should go about automating pretty much everything. So, for example, I have three use cases. You can think of other possible use cases as well. And uh, my first use case is that if application is changing in near future, should you automate that? No. Why no?
Because in agile projects, the requirement change very frequently.
Okay.
So we will automate them.
No, my question is different. Okay. So see, the purpose of agile methodology is that we can anticipate changes early on and we can absorb those changes. But my question is a little different. That should you automate anything that is changing in near future? I mean, if there is a major change, should you automate that? You are saying no. Why no?
There will be no use of.
Yes, in a way, there will be no use, right? Yeah. So the reason we should not automate is because if you are putting in time and effort to automate an application which is about to change, now what you will do, you are like, for example, to begin with, you are learning Selenium, you will be investing a lot of time and effort to write the scripts. It takes a good amount of time to write script, to do automation. If application itself is going to change, there is no point in automating it, right? Otherwise it's a waste of your time and energy, isn't it? Then second thing is, if what if it has a very tight deadline, then should you automate that?
But if we are going to use that application again,
Sorry, if we are going to
use that application again,
huh?
we can.
Yes, that is true. But if let's say you want to release your product or whatever you are testing in next week, for example, then if that means that deadline is very tight. Now you would not have enough time to even do manual testing, leave alone the automation testing. Now, what I mean by that is, it takes a lot of time and effort for you to write scripts. It's not few hours work, few hours of work. If you were able to do, let's say, a manual testing of your application, four of you in a week's time, if you automate, it might take as much as a month's time to write script, to build infrastructure and all that. So why would you want to automate something which is having very tight deadline? You will not be able to finish the automation itself, right? Plus, not every UI component should be automated, meaning that just because we know automation, you should not just go about and automate anything. Yes. Why? Because maybe the return of investment when you're trying to automate a certain piece of functionality or code might not be worth worth the effort which you're going to put in, right? So we have to balance out as to whether what we are gaining out of automation, because our eventual goal is to be more productive, right? That's what we are trying to achieve. So we should not automate pretty much anything and everything, right? Then okay, now I'll talk a little bit in more details about what is Selenium as a testing tool. So I'm sure you people know what is Selenium. It is for automation of web applications, right? But there's more to it, and let's talk about it. So Selenium is a suite. Suite means it's a collection of softwares. Now the best part of Selenium is that you can do automation with Selenium with any language. Any language means if you know Java, you can do automation. If you know C++, you can, sorry, not C++, C Sharp, you can do automation. If you know Python, you can automate PHP. You can do automation with pretty any language of your choice. Okay, so it does not mean that if you are a Java programmer or .NET programmer, only you can do. Anybody who has knowledge of some of the famous programming languages in the industry, they can go about and do the automation, right? Then, irrespective of whether your application is running on Windows machine or Mac machine or Linux machine or Android mobiles or iPhones or tablets, you can still automate those applications with the help of Selenium, and that's a very powerful feature, right? Today, you want to access your applications or pages via the web or the Android or iOS operating systems and all that, right? So it's a powerful feature to have. Plus, another important thing is that it is supporting pretty much all the browsers in the market. So I, for example, like to use generally Chrome and Firefox. Maybe some of you use a different browser, maybe Internet Explorer or Safari. So no matter which browser you use, you can still do automation with the help of Selenium. Okay. Now Selenium is a suite. What is a suite? Suite is a collection of things where you have Selenium IDE, Selenium RC, WebDriver, and Grid. So let's talk about each one of them. Now, before I talk of each one of them, uh, so before I talk of each one of them, I'll tell you a little bit of history. History is important to know about Selenium so that you know how it started and where we are today, right? So that it will help you appreciate that what is the purpose of Selenium and why we are learning it. So if you will go here, so let me take you on this page here. So there are a couple of blogs I keep writing. This is my website. I have a few blogs. In these blogs, I have written few topics which is very relevant to you as this course when you get started. So if you will come down to page number, maybe this is for introduction to, not this one, maybe this one. I have it here. Okay, so I'll talk about Selenium core. That is the birth of Selenium. So how it actually happened, that how Selenium came into being and what was the reason of Selenium. So there was this guy Jason Huggins, an engineer in ThoughtWorks. He was working on web application that required frequent testing, like we do testing on our web applications. Having realized that the repetitious manual testing of the application was becoming more and more inefficient, he created a JavaScript program that would automatically control browser's actions. He named it as JavaScript Test Runner. Okay, so this guy who was working in ThoughtWorks, he created the first framework or first Selenium which would do the automation for us, and it was done with the help of a language called JavaScript. Now, after that, seeing a potential in this idea to help automate the other web application, he made JavaScript open source, which was later on renamed as Selenium Core. So this was the birth of Selenium. This is how Selenium got started. Okay, now, but there was a problem in this. What was the problem? Is that suppose if you have the Selenium core running in one domain, let's say this left side is Google domain and right side is Yahoo domain. Okay. Now, if your script that you have just written to do the automation Selenium core, if it is running on Google domain, you can access all the Google apps like Google Docs, Google Drive, and then Google Mail, Google Chat, everything you can access, but you cannot access any application which is running on another domain, which could be a Yahoo domain or Amazon or Flipkart, right? So it's a very big limitation. Why it is a big limitation? Because we are talking about boundaryless world where even within an organization you can have different domains, like IT department have their machines in their domain, a developer will have in one domain, tester can have different in different domain. So it is a very big limitation, don't you think, that machines are not able to communicate with each other, or rather Selenium core is not able to communicate with applications which are on different domains. So it's a big limitation, right? So what happened to overcome this limitation? There was something else which had to be created, and that is called as Selenium RC. Selenium RC stands for remote control. Okay, this is the architecture diagram of Selenium RC, and let me explain how this one works for you. So far, what used to happen is that with that script which you created, it would send command directly to the browser, and since it was sending command directly to the browser, you had to be on the same domain, right? Now, with the help of Selenium RC, RC stands for remote control. So let's say if I have to talk to you, initially I was talking direct. Now with the help of RC, I first send command to her. She is Selenium RC remote control. She will take my commands, she will send it to you. You will process that, send the response back, and you will send the response back to me. So this is how we are able to do the communication with the help of Selenium RC. Now with the help of Selenium RC being in picture, whether you are in same domain as I am or in different domain, it does not matter. So that problem of being on different domains gets solved, right? So this is how Selenium RC happened. So we had Selenium core and then Selenium RC. But with this approach which I have just explained to you, there is some limitation. There is some what shortcomings are there? What limitations do you think are there? Yes, mediator. And because there is a mediator, what will happen? It is more time consuming, costly is that it is costly, right? So as you just mentioned, it is not efficient way to do it. Why it is not efficient? Because it will slow us down. If I were to talk to you directly, won't it be faster and better, right? Well, rather than going via her, she sends command to you, take response. So it slows down the process, and it's expensive. Plus RC should always be up and running. It is an additional intermediate piece of code that is running, right? So as a result of, so we have talked about Selenium RC. Okay, as a result of this limitation, we had something which is called Selenium WebDriver. So this is the guy who built Selenium core or RC. Then this is guy Simon Stewart from, he's an engineer in Google who created Selenium WebDriver. Now, Selenium WebDriver is the one where we are going to spend most of our time. It is going to be our focus area because nowadays everybody is making use of Selenium WebDriver only. Okay. Now there is, in this diagram there is Selenium IDE also. So let me quickly show to you what is an IDE. So if you go again to Firefox here, so let me open this browser here. So IDE is a plugin. What is meant by plugin? What is meant by plugin? Plugin is a piece of software where you plug in with something else to enhance the capability of functionality. So Selenium IDE is a plugin of Firefox browser, means an additional software of Firefox browser which does something. In this case, it does some testing automation for us. So let me open a Selenium IDE. So if I click here, this icon, you have to install it. I'll tell you how it needs to be done. So it will bring up a box like this. This is a Selenium IDE. Okay. Now if I perform some action here, so before I do that, you will see here it says it is recording. So the recording is going on. Okay. Now if I go to Google here, Google, then I'll go here the Java Selenium. Okay. I'll choose that, and then uh, if I do this, all that action is getting recorded here. So let me stop the recording. Okay, and then I can play it back. So I'll slow down the process of execution, and then I'll hit here. So you will see that it opened Google and it types that formula and it had it hits enter for me, right? So basically IDE is a record and playback tool. Yes. So so Selenium can be used to record your actions and play it back when you want to it, or when you want to see how the particular application is working. So that is Selenium IDE. Now as I was saying, it is a Firefox plugin. It is used for record and playback, and with the help of IDE, you can. So in the background, when you are performing action, the code is also generated. So you can export that code in any language of your choice. But generally, it is not a good idea. I don't encourage that. In fact, nobody encourages it. It is better to write your own programming rather than take existing code and then work on it. Okay. So there are some limitations of Selenium IDE or drawbacks that it is only supported in Firefox. You cannot do dynamic testing. You cannot write your own programming logic. You can do data-driven testing. What is data-driven testing? You want to read data from Excel sheet, feed into your form, for example. Take data, put into form. Take data, put into form. With the help of IDE, you cannot automate it. Why you can't automate it? Because you can't code. You have to take code data from Excel sheet manually one by one and put it into IDE, right? Dynamic testing is like there are dynamic components available, like drag and drop is there, and other dynamic components which you cannot handle very well with the help of IDE. Okay, so all those things can be handled well with the help of your web driver, which I'll talk about in some time. Okay, then Selenium RC I have already explained to you, Selenium remote control. Then Selenium WebDriver. Now this is where our focus is going to be. This is where we'll spend most of our time. Now it's a programming interface. What is an interface? English meaning of an interface? Yes, it's a layer, upper layer. Okay, anything else?
Interface is something which helps a user to.
Yeah, so like I have mentioned, interface is a facilitator. So let's say initially when I was talking to you, she was like an interface. Okay, so WebDriver is a programming interface, meaning that there is some piece of code available via which you interact with the browser. Okay, so there are various locator strategies available in Selenium, wherein you can use those strategies to talk to the browser. Then Selenium WebDriver has programming interface. I mean, you can actually code with the help of a driver. Selenium WebDriver with IDE you can do that, and it has support. IDE does not let you do programming, but here WebDriver you can do pretty much a lot of coding, which we will do actually once we get started. And it is very fast. Why it is very fast, and I'll explain to you. So for example, what is your native language? Bengali. Yours? Sorry? Himachali. So let's say I talk to you in your native language or you in your native language, then you will be faster, you will be more efficient, you will be more comfortable, right? Similarly, these web drivers which are there, they are written in native language so that they interact directly with the browser. And for Firefox, I have a driver which is natively written for that. Chrome, I have a driver. Similarly, other browsers. So per browser, there is a driver so that the direct communication happens with the browser. And therefore, it natively communicates with that browser, and therefore, it is very, very fast. No, driver is an executable file. So when I say driver, if you will go here, in this program, although you will not understand, but here I specify that before starting that I want to make use of Geico driver, which is a driver for Firefox. Okay, similarly there are other drivers also. So if you will go here, there are few more drivers available in this one. So these are already there. Yes, they are already there. You just have to download and use them. So there is a driver here for Chrome is there, Geico is there. Like this, there are driver for every browser that you want to communicate with. So this is the one who does the actual talking with the browser. And like initially there used to be script, right, which was talking. So now the commands will go via this exe, which will natively communicate with the underlying browser. Yes. Then so as I was saying, for each browser there is a driver. For HTML unit, Chrome, Safari, IE, Firefox, there is a individual drivers which we can download from the Selenium HQ website. It's all available there. Okay, that is an official website of Selenium. Then I have already talked about that WebDriver has support for all the programming languages, browsers, operating systems. Okay, but there are some limitations that are there in Selenium WebDriver, and two of those limitations are that You don't have any way to do report generation with Selenium. And the next one is there is no centralized maintenance of objects. So what is, so we do testing, and since we are into testing, I mean, if you are not able to generate at the end of report, it's like having lost your work, right? Plus you should be able to give something as an output to your leads, maybe your managers. So report is a mandatory part of whatever testing we are doing. So then what do we do? WebDriver does not have support for report generation, but when WebDriver is used in combination with TestNG, what is TestNG? I'll talk about it in some time. When you combine it with TestNG, you can do a nice report generation like this. So in this, you can see it has a lot of details as to what test cases you have run, what is the execution time, what are the test cases which has passed, what are the test cases which have failed. So this is a pretty nice report, and you don't have to write even a single line of code to do this kind of report generation. So let me actually show it to you. So if you will go here, let's say I run a test case, a use case in which I have three test cases, and out of these three test cases, okay, here I have one, two, three. I'm running three test cases. Don't worry about this code and all that. I have three test cases of functions which I'm executing. Now in this, I'm deliberately passing two and failing one. Okay, so let's run and see what happens. So right click, run as TestNG test. So let's see what is in the console. So first report that we see is two passed and one failed, right? And this is the reason of the failure. This is your first report. Second report is if you click at this tab, it shows green, green, and blue in color and the reason of failure. These are two reports. If you don't find it very interesting and convincing, then let me show you few more reports. So I'll go to the location where the project is. I'll go here. Okay, in this directory, if I go inside this, and then if I go test output here, can you see this file index.html? Let me open it. So I will go here. This is one of the reports that is generated additionally, which has that three methods were executed, one failed, two passed. Chronological view means the order in which they were executed, how much time the test case took, right? If you don't find this also very interesting, then let me show you one more report, emailable report. So if you will see, this looks a pretty nice report, as in the test cases that were passing, the how many you skipped, how many you failed, the time it took, how much time each of them took, the passed and the failed, right? So this is a nice snapshot of all the testing that you have done, or the test cases you have run. And you don't have to write any code to do this generation. This is done for you by TestNG framework, right? So then what is a framework?
Structured form.
Yes, it's a structured form. Anybody else? What is a framework? Okay, so I think so. As a part of this course, we'll also look at framework development. But what exactly is a framework? Why is it that companies ask always that, well, have you built a framework? So let me explain to you what is a framework and what it has to offer to us. So I will go. Where is that? Okay, so this is again a description on my blog. You can go and search on my website. Okay, so I will take a very non-technical definition of a framework to explain what exactly is meant by framework and why do we need to build a framework. Okay, so if I told you to cut a piece of paper with dimension 5 by 5, then surely you would do that, right? But suppose I ask you to cut 1,000 pieces of paper of same dimension. In this case, you won't do the measuring 1,000 times, right? Obviously you would make a frame of 5 by 5, and then with the help of it you would be able to cut 1,000 pieces of paper in less time. So what you did was to make a framework which would do a specific type of task, right? So with the help of a framework you tend to achieve a or do a specific type of task, and what is the benefit? You can get more done in less time. right? With that frame, now you can just do the cutting. You don't have to do the measuring, right? So instead of performing the same type of task again and again for the same type of application, you create a framework having those facilities in one nice package, right? So if you were to build a building like this, we create, in Hindi we call dhacha, right? Once you have that in place, you just put in the brick and mortar and your building is ready. So it's like a framework you have in place, right? So TestNG is a framework which helps you do a lot of things. One of the things I just showed you is that it will do report generation for you. It is very powerful. It can do a lot of things. What it can do is report generation, plus it will let you do parallel testing. Parallel testing means you can run your test codes simultaneously in Firefox browser, Internet Explorer, Chrome. All of that can happen parallelly, simultaneously in the same machine with the help of what? With the help of TestNG framework. Okay, then you can create groups in the test cases. Groups means you might want to create a load test group or a regression group or some other group, right? So you can create groups of test cases. So let's say you have 1,000 test cases you have to run every time. But after the first run, you think you just want to run 5 or 10 or 100 or 50 of them. So you can create a group to just run only those test cases. So those kind of groups you can create. Then you can do priority, as in first this should run, then this should run. All those prioritization you can do. Plus data parameterization, meaning that you can even write a code in such a way that you can have logic to read data from Excel sheet and pass it as an input to the program. So like you mentioned that why the records are same. So if I have to change that record, I can use data parameterization concept to read data from Excel sheet and pass the data to the test case, and it will do it for the different set of data for me. Okay, so it's a very powerful. Can it be done without testing? See, it can be done. See, it's a good question you brought up. See, you can do pretty much anything and everything without TestNG, but trust me, it will be a pain. It will be a lot of hard work. Achieving parallelism, achieving threads in Java, achieving grouping, parameterization will take you a lot of time and energy to do that. When you already have a framework like TestNG already available for free. So it is like this. You can even write code to from scratch to do the actual automation without Selenium. But why you are using Selenium? Because it is really good. It offers a lot of things to you, right? Same goes for TestNG as well. Why you want to reinvent the wheel? There is something already there which does a lot of things for you, and it is for free. And it is one of the best framework available in the market. Okay. So then next is grid. What is grid? So we'll, as a part of this course, we'll also cover grid. What happens in grid? So till now I have been talking about that single machine, multiple browsers. But what if in your company you want to test maybe your application on Windows, Linux, and other environments, Mac? So what you can do with the help of grid architecture, you can have your applications being tested simultaneously on different machines. So one machine, two browsers, another machine, two, three browsers, right? So Windows, some browser, Linux, another browsers, maybe another browser means within a machine you can have two, three browsers and you can have multiple machines up together. So that way you can do more in less time, right? You don't have to wait for finish Windows testing and then go to Linux. You can do all of this together with the help of a grid architecture, and it's very easy to set up grid with the help of Selenium. Okay, then we have already looked at advantages. There are some disadvantages of Selenium also we should know of. That Selenium, it only supports web-based testing. That is something which we are aware of. Then only user communities are available. What it means, that Selenium is an open source, right? So you did not pay somebody to use it. You just download it and start using it. So if you get stuck with a problem, then you don't have a hotline number you can call so that somebody will come and fix your problem, right? So only user communities are available. But the best part is that so many people have accepted and adapted and started using Selenium. So that, let's say you start working on a project and you face a problem. The problem which you are going to face, somebody has already faced it, and that somebody has already fixed it. So it is just a matter of being able to find it out on Google and solving your problem, right? So there is a huge community of users. So I don't consider it as a disadvantage, but rather it is an advantage to have. Plus, it is difficult to set up. Initially, it is difficult if you don't understand the underlying concept of what is Java, how Java is used, compilation process, build process, path, and all that. But we'll go through all of that one step by step, and we'll make sure that you get hang of this setup very easily. Okay. Then Selenium has no reporting available, but we have seen that when combined with TestNG, you can have a very nice report generation. And for the reports which I showed you, you do not write a single line of code. It was all automatically generated for you. So for example, you were asking that why can't we do it without TestNG? So in order to generate a report like this, which I showed to you some time back here, a report which I was trying to show it to you, right? That snapshot. It would take you a lot of time and effort to generate a report like that. Whereas if you use TestNG, it's already there for you. Okay. So then, and last is you cannot do image processing. I mean, we in the internet world, when we are using internet, there are going to be a lot of images, but the challenge is that you cannot do much with images with the help of Selenium. So yes, that is a genuine limitation of Selenium. Okay. So a quick comparison between QTP and Selenium. QTP is licensed expensive, which is free. QTP uses you can do testing of web and GUI application. If it's Selenium, only web-based application. It supports only two browsers, Internet and Firefox, whereas I just told you it supports all major browsers. Now QTP only supports VB script. This supports pretty much all the language in the industry. It only supports Windows operating system. This one supports all different platforms, right? Then QC, for in QC there is a defect tracking tool. Sorry, in QTP there is a QC, which is a defect tracking tool. Selenium, you don't have any tool as such. Okay, but there are a lot of freewares available. You can pretty much take care of that. QTP has its own IDE. IDE is integrated development environment where you can do your coding. In Selenium, there is no IDE, but there are a lot of freewares available like Eclipse, Visual Studio, NetBeans. They are very famous in industry where they are used very extensively in industry, and all of it is for free. Okay. Suresh, this GUI and remote application is same. Remote, no. Remote application is different. GUI is that thick client. No, sorry, not remote. Desktop application. Desktop application and GUI is same. Yes, it's a graphical user interface. So the thick application which you work on with applets and all those things, those are basically a GUI. Okay. Then okay, so I have shown you a few demos as well, registration. And you can even do cross browser testing. So let me show a small program. In that program, what I will do is I launch different browsers. Okay, now what is the purpose of this? The purpose is that I'm not going to do anything in the code, but I'm just showing that with the same code you can have multiple browsers execution happening simultaneously. So let me go here. Okay, so I'll run this program here. So this is going to launch three browsers for me simultaneously, and I can have the same piece of code without any changes except for the driver change, which I have to specify that it should use a different driver for each one of them. So this is one browser which is launched for me. One is this one. Okay. Then one more has got launched for me here, and it will launch one more, which is Internet Explorer. I'm just waiting for it. Yes. So this is Internet Explorer. Okay, so I have launched three browsers simultaneously with the help of same code. I mean, you can do any kind of testing in all the browsers, and the reason of having used that driver exe file is that you don't have to make any code change to work on different browsers. Okay, that exe file will take care of the differences. Okay, okay, so that's okay, so that's pretty much about Selenium. Now let's focus on how the course will be conducted. I believe you must be waiting to know what is the syllabus and other things. So the way this course is conducted is that we'll have a lot of hands-on in class. I believe that in order to become an automation tester, you have to do a lot of programming. We are going to do extensive programming in class, and you'll have a good number of assignments. My approach is that I teach a topic and then you try in class, and then I again teach and again you try in the class itself. Okay. After that, I'll also be giving you good number of assignments. So let me take you through my course content. So if you will go to my courses link here, okay, in this there is a link Selenium automation with Java. Now, if you will look at the curriculum tab here, it has pretty much lot of things that we are going to cover as a part of this course. So since this is going to be a weekend batch, it will go for around minimum 2.5 months. And out of that, minimum 3 weekends will only go for Java. Why I spend so much time in Java? Because honestly, there is nothing called Selenium. It is a Java programming only. If you are good in Java, Selenium will follow you naturally. A lot of times people directly jump to Selenium, and if you do not know Java, trust me, Selenium will become very difficult. But if you know Java, Selenium is going to be a cakewalk. So I spend a lot of time in Java, which involves how do we do the setup of Eclipse and Java, what are the introduction to Java. I cover a lot of things here, various data types, loops, then array, data handling functions, arrays, debugging in Java, then object oriented programming. There is good amount of object oriented programming here. No, no, no. I don't do any theories. I will show you my recordings. You can go through my live recordings. In the class, we do all the programs. Okay. So if you want, I have a session at 11 a.m. So now after, not 11, 1:30, 3:30. Come and attend that class as well. So you will know that, see, I am a developer myself. I am a programmer myself. I know that programming can't be taught with theory. So you will sit in class, you will have to bring your laptop and you will do exercises. I'll show you some of my exercises. Let me just go through this. Okay. So these are the topics: object oriented, then again more object oriented, then exception handling. This is a very important topic. We'll spend a lot of time in exception handling, inner classes, collections and map, multi-threading, input output handling. Okay, so while you are doing this one, there is also good number of assignments you will be doing simultaneously with me. So if you go to core Java assignments, here you have lot of assignments, logic building. So if you are from a non-programming background, we'll start to write small logic, so you can think of as a programmer. We'll be programming like, although some of them are very simple, but you have to get started, right? Initially you'll do silly mistakes when you are writing your first program or second or third program. So there is a good number of examples to get you started to be a programmer. Create a Fibonacci series, find a palindrome, and find out if number is prime number. So all of this will get you started to think analytically, so that you can transform yourself as a from manual to automation tester. Okay. So once we have reached to that level, then once we have reached to this level, then maybe let's say we cover with exception handling, you will have all these assignments to do. So it is not just I tell you theory and I tell you we are done. You will have good amount of hands-on, that I promise. I have people who have already done Selenium, who are doing Selenium again with me, and just for a reason that they did not have get hands-on. So I mean, don't worry about that part. That I will make sure that you have enough experience and enough hands-on to do. So the way I do it is, in the beginning, I teach a concept, you try it in class, and then I again teach, you again try. So that's how we do it. Okay, and then you will also carry a lot of assignments at home also. All these assignments are to be done by you only. Okay, I'll just come to assignment part, how you submit assignment, how I review them, all that I'll just talk about. Okay, so that was regarding core Java. Now coming back, okay, so coming back here, what is that? Core Java. Okay, so once we are done with Java, we would have spent a lot of time. Trust me, I myself am a developer. I know what it means to be an automation tester. Okay, without programming, you cannot be an automation tester, and there is nothing called Selenium. Honestly, it's all about Java programming. Okay, so So this is how what the deal is. If you are good in Java, it is easy for you as well as for me also to teach you Selenium. Okay, once you have got comfortable in Java, then we will go to Selenium. Okay, so we start with HTML. I give you an overview on HTML. Why? Because you have to do automation of HTML pages only. Then what is CSS cascading style sheet? Then we start with Selenium introduction. Okay, so then I start with Selenium introduction, wherein I cover the Selenium architecture and what is Selenium architecture, different drivers and all those things. And then I also cover Maven. Maven is a very important build tool. Okay, it's a pretty, I would say, typical and a little difficult tool to understand in beginning. But trust me, once you start using Maven, you will not go back. Okay, we will go through Maven. We'll spend a good amount of time to do a lot of things with Maven. Today I cannot explain to you because it will get very technical, but we look at Maven also. Okay, then once we are done with the Maven, we will have different locator strategies that we are going to look at by ID, by name, by class, by CSS selector, by XPath. All those locator strategies of Selenium we are going to look at. Then various commands like get title, navigation to different pages, for example. Okay, then different methods like quit, close, switch, working on different frames, alert, pop up. Okay, then input box, checkbox, radio button, links, drop downs, right? Then Selenium IDE. I will not spend a lot of time on this one because it is almost an outdated technology, but I will give you a brief introduction on how to use it. Okay, but most of our focus is going to be Selenium WebDriver. Now, by the time we reach here, we would have done a lot of, we would be comfortable with programming. So, because of that, I will put you on my Selenium assignments. So, if you will go to Selenium assignment, there are good number of assignments available here as well. These are all assignments. So, one of the assignment, let's say to begin with, register to Yahoo page, right? So how you register to this, different use cases, do different data validations, all this are write up is given here. Okay, not only this, for example, how do we so add user use case one, not this one. Yes, so like this is another screen. So there are a lot of assignments how to work on the tabs. These are different tabs, right? Different tabs, drop downs, radio buttons, checkboxes, multi-select. Okay, how do you work on this? We'll have assignments for each topic that we are going to look at. Okay, so this way we'll keep implementing what we learning as we move along. Fine. Now once we keep moving here, then TestNG will get started. Trust me, TestNG is something which we are going to use very extensively, and I generally finish a topic in one day, but this is the only topic where I'm going to spend 2 sessions, means one full weekend. It is to be used very extensively. It is very, very powerful. All that parallelism, auto, without TestNG you cannot do automation. That is the bottom line. So I will be covering this very exhaustively, and we'll do a lot of work here. Okay, then how you do report generation, how you take a screenshot, how you define listeners, all those concepts will be covering as a part of TestNG. So by this time we, okay, before by this time we would have started your mini project. So your first mini project is going to look like this. So this screen which I was showing to you, this is actually your first mini project. Mini project does not mean there will be no assignment. I have shown you assignments also. You would have done a good number of assignments, and then this is your first mini project. Okay, in this you will be filling in data, and then you will be also doing clicking on add, and you will be doing validation of these labels in case of a passing or a failing. That's what we exactly do in manual testing, right? Yes, no. So all of that you do in the real life, all of that will be done here as a automation testing project and assignments. Okay. Then then we will look at TestNG I have talked about. Then we look at auto IT and securely also. So there are sometimes some components which you cannot handle with WebDriver, right? Like right click. Let's say right click, save as. What is this? Save page as. So this box which is coming up is not a browser component, right? It's a Windows dialog box. So how do we handle that? For that we look at Auto IT and Securely to help handle or process this particular component. Okay, so we will look at this as well. Then we look at Apache POI, how to read data from Excel sheet, how to write data to Excel sheet. Why? Because a lot of your work is done on Excel sheets, right? So how do we do that? We'll use this also for doing the framework development also. Okay. Then Selenium RC I'll cover. I have already told you what is RC. Selenium Grid I will cover. Grid is basically I showed you that architecture, right? How do you set up of that architecture? I'll be covering that. Then Jenkins. Jenkins is a continuous integration tool. So what it means is, so uh, this is a Jenkins wherein what happens that suppose you are in a team where there is a developer checks in the code. Okay, there is a version control tool where the code is checked in, right? Now what Jenkins will do, it will pull the code, build it and deploy it, and then it will use Maven and TestNG to automatically trigger execution of the test scripts which you have written, so that there is no human intervention at all. So Jenkins is used for continuous integration and automated testing of your scripts. So let's say check-in happened at night 9 o'clock, but you are not in office. Who files the script? I mean, maybe if there are thousands of test cases, it might take 2 3 hours to execute, right? So it will get triggered at night automatically for you, and morning you can have the result with you. Who does it for you? Jenkins does it for you. So in this whole process, I will tell you how to fit in Jenkins also in the architecture that you will be building. Then I will also help you build a framework. I'll talk about framework in some time. Okay. So what is a framework? Framework I have explained to you. It's like a outline or a structure which makes things easy for you. So we'll also be building a data-driven framework, hybrid framework, and keyword-driven framework. Okay, wherein you will define a framework and you will define Excel sheet. The Excel sheet will define use case scenarios, and with the help of that Excel sheet, you can do test case execution. Okay, so we will also be working on building a framework. So coming back, Jenkins is done. Then I will also cover database programming with Java. Why I cover this, although it is not part of Selenium, because some people want that how we fetch data from database, how we put data into database. So in order to help you do that, I will teach you how to set up MySQL server, then how to connect to the MySQL with the help of Java program, and how to fetch data and how to put data into the database. Okay, so that is another thing I'll cover. Then I'll cover Cucumber also. Now, what is Cucumber? Let's look at Cucumber. Maybe some of you know what heard of Cucumber. It's an upcoming and a promising what you say product and the technology which is being used in the industry nowadays. So let me try to explain Cucumber to you. Now, to understand Cucumber, let's understand this. I don't know whether you people have ever heard a story of this elephant. Have you? No, nobody have. Okay, so maybe yes, you have heard. Okay, so in our times we used to hear this story where there are so these blind guys. Each of them is touching the elephant. The one who is touching the leg, he thinks that elephant is a tree. The one who touches the rope, he thinks it's a sorry. Who touches the tail, he thinks it's a rope. The one who's touching the nose, he thinks it's a snake, right? The one touching the stomach thinks it's a ball. They are blind, right? And they can only visualize what they touch, isn't it? Now, this is a similar kind of situation we face when we are working in big companies or in companies where we are confined to be working on a small part of a product. So for us, it looks like that is the product, right? I mean, of course, if it's a small team, you know what is the other modules, but in very big teams where it can be 50, 100 people, you might only know a part of it and you might think, okay, this is what it is, right? Yes, no. So the problem that happens with this case, this situation is that a tester might view things differently as what developer thinks and as what product owner thinks, right? So we can have different perspective based upon our understanding of the product. So what will be the problem in such a case?
Uh, the situation will be like you are just aware about the specific that particular portion, yes. And once you go into the market or if you get more exposure, it's more. It will not give you that much confidence to work on that.
Okay, so you have gone a step ahead, but keeping okay, so that is the right answer. But let's confine ourselves within the project itself. So if this is a situation you get into within the project, so let's say we are it's a 5 people but 50 people team. So maybe five is touching the one part of it. So what problem do you think you might be facing? Or you can, I mean, without even realizing it, you will be in what kind of problem do you think it can cause when you're working in a team with this kind of perception created in front of you? Sorry? Integration, yes, that is a good answer. Integration is one thing. Anything else? Please try. That's okay. You can give a wrong answer and it's perfectly fine. You want to try? For every person, the way they looking it's different. Yes, that's true. What else? You want to try?
Uh, when we are confined to a particular part of the project, so we might not be knowing that what impact it's
Going to have
yeah on
yes,
other part or what other project is having impact.
Yes, that is also good answer. And you want to try? Okay, so we are not focused in one direction, isn't it? If we don't see things similarly, then we have our own directions to go, right? If everybody thinks it is a wall, then everybody will try to push a wall. But if different people thinks it's something different, then don't you think that we don't have a synergy to think in the same direction, which is actually required to achieve a successful outcome with respect to development, with respect to testing, with respect to writing, technical writing, or whatever you are doing for that matter, right? So this is the problem that you will face. As a team, we should be having a clarity. Everybody should have a clarity of what it is, and then if we have that clarity, we will all think in the same direction, right? But if you have a different perception of a project that you're working on, then you will all think differently in different directions. Is that right? Okay. So then how is this problem solved? I'll come to this slide a little while later. Let's look at this BDD in nutshell. So let's try to understand what is behavioral driven development. In a traditional software development which we generally follow nowadays, what happens? There is a stakeholder and a product owner. Stakeholder may be the client and a product owner. They get together and they write a product requirement document. Okay. So what happened? Tester translates the requirement into test cases, right? You will convert into test case. So let's say you are tester, you are developer. So developer will start to read that document and translate into your code, and then technical writer will translate into technical documentation, right? And then each of them is having their own own output of things which they are going to generate, right? Now let's follow our BDD approach, wherein stakeholder and product owner, they talk about business needs and they come up with a document, right? After that, what happens? Product owner, developer and tester, they collaborate around that requirement. Means all of them get together in a room, they discuss the requirement, and then they come up with some English like scenarios which the developer can use to do development, tester can use to do testing, and the technical writer can also use to do technical writing. Okay. Now let me show you a small piece of BDD feature file here to you. Okay, so let's say, so this is a very simple feature file. Now, is there something which anybody of you fail to understand in this file? I am saying that I want to test a feature, and what is the name of that feature I want to test? Yes, it's very obvious. What is the scenario I want to test? Yes, that is what are the steps I want to execute? So I am using a language called Gherkin, which is an English-like language. Now as a developer I'm going to use this, tester will use this, product owner will also update this. So we all are on the same page with respect to what it is that we are trying to build, right? So this is an approach towards following a BDD, wherein these people here here, so product owner and have conversation, then tester, product tester, developer and the QA, they get together, they define requirement as structured scenarios. Okay, these scenarios which I just showed to you as a that feature file, scenario guides the developer to and act as automation testing, plus tester uses these scenarios as the basis of the testing. And since the reference point is same for all of us, developer tester, then the likelihood that we deviate and see the product differently is not there. And therefore it what it helps us achieve, it helps us achieve a single source of truth. What is single source of truth? It is the single document which is being referenced by everybody, right? Then focus is on customer, because customer also has access to that properties file, and he can also make changes if need be. And if he makes changes there, the developer will have to update their code, tester will also have to make changes accordingly, right? It's a living documentation, living or a live documentation, because it is updated frequently as and when it needs to be, rather than the original documentation which was there, which was only updated once, and then you translate that requirement to different teams, developer, tester. So this is a living documentation updated as and when changes happen, so that if you have done development using that feature file, your test cases will fail, and you have to incorporate for the changes that has happened in the document, right? Then less rework. So if you have all of this in place, you will have less rework to do. Why? Because we are all moving in the same direction, right? So that is regarding behavioral driven development. Then JDBC, this is an architecture of JDBC. I told you I'll cover JDBC programming also as a part of this course to connect to database. We'll be using MySQL as a server. Okay. Okay. So now this is not going to be a theory class. There is going to be a lot of hands-on. There is going to be preparation for interviews. There will be mocks also conducted, so that by the time you are done with the course, you are ready for the market. Trust me, this is a very exhaustive course. It will require time on your part with respect to practice. You work hard, I'll work harder for you, and that I do for all my students. Okay, I'll talk more of this in some time. I have a lot of blogs I write. I have shown some of them to you, and all of them are those blogs are relevant, very relevant to you. Once you start visiting those blogs, you will come to know of that. Okay, I'll be sharing some study materials also with you, soft copies of Java and Selenium. Okay, then code sharing. Now this is a very powerful feature which I make use of as a part of this course. So let's say you do assignment. How do you share the code with me? By showing. Okay, yeah, maybe showing or mailing, right? Now let's say you are working on a small project and there are 5 files. Then how do you show the error to me? You will either a lot of time people will ping the code to me on WhatsApp and take a photo and send it to me. It's very difficult because I don't have the other details with me. So what I have learned from experience, that I've started teaching my people how to use a version control tool called Git. It's a cloud based version control tool where you will check in your code, and I will have access to your code and I can review all your codes. So you will submit your assignments there and I can pull your assignments and review them. So for example, let me show that to you how it works. So if you go to, so if you will go here, so if you will go here, this is a big bucket. Now all the code that I'm going to do in class, soon after the class it will be checked in. You can access it by yourself at home. So let's say one of my student is Priyanka. Okay, she has submitted this code. Okay, now I have access to all her code here, all the topics. So she has done a lot of assignments. Assignment 1 she has submitted. I can view all her assignments from here. Okay, so it becomes very easy for me. Plus I can also make change and put in the changes back. So don't you think it's a very easy way to coordinate and communicate and do code sharing? So this is one tool I'm going to teach to you, though it's not part of Selenium. but it makes your life easy, my life also easy. Same thing when you submit the project, which will have lot of files. So this is a very good tool to make use of. Okay, so this is how I use code sharing. Plus everything which I do in class, I'll make you do in here also. Plus there is tons of code already available. So this project which I am showing to you here in the Eclipse, what is that? Okay, so all this that you are seeing here, it is already checked in the Bitbucket. If you want to go and look at the Bitbucket, go here and search for uh, okay, so these are all my repositories. If you go to view repositories, if you search for Cucumber here, CUCUM. Okay, so this is the project. It is already checked in. If I make any changes live, it will get updated in this repository. So we were looking at this feature file, right? This is the file we were looking at. So all the things that I am going to do in the class, it will be shared with you immediately so that you can play around with at home also. And practically for all the features and application, the code is already there in Bitbucket, and I will give access to this Bitbucket to all of you once we get started. Okay. So that is how we make use of Bitbucket. Then GitHub is the Git which we are going to use. This is Bitbucket is a web-based version control tool which we are going to use for this code sharing. Now, how do we do collaboration? How do you reach out to me? How do you ask questions? So the way we are going to do is I'm very active on WhatsApp. I have number of groups. People keep asking questions. They post questions. Keep answering them. Plus, apart from them, I am also having a Google group there where there are more than 150 students. So you can join that group. It's like a technical discussion forum where you can ask questions, post answers, and all those things you can do. Okay, so that will make it easy for me because if you are sending code to me on WhatsApp, it's difficult for me to read. But if you put it on group or attach the file, it gets easy for me. Although we can use Bitbucket for code sharing, but for asking technical questions, you can come here. For example, so if you will go to this one, so this is one of the group Java Selenium automation. If you will go here, you will see that there are number of questions that are asked here. People are actively asking. If you will go to manage member, there are more than 155 manage, not here. So if you go to members, all members, there are 155 students of mine who keep posting questions here. Okay. Then after that, okay, this is some of my testimonials of the people I have taught, from people from Capgemini, Cognizant. I have taught a lot of people from Cognizant. I can tell you 10 people's name I have taught from Cognizant. Then she is from Barclays. All these testimonials are on my website. If you will go to my website again, so where is my- just 1 minute. Okay, here if you go to my website, there is a page here at the top, testimonials. So you can read these testimonials from different students. Plus, I am also a trainer with Edureka. Edureka is an online premier training institute. So I've got a very good feedback from them. So if you will go here and open, this is one of the batch which I did recently with Edureka. You can Google Edureka and find out about Edureka. It's one of the best in the world, and I'm a trainer with them. So I conducted a training with them for Selenium. This is my survey feedback, and this is the kind of feedback I've got. I've got pretty good number of excellence from my batch which I did with Edureka. This is for Selenium. I teach other courses also, which is Java and Advanced Java. So this is yet another feedback of mine. This is one more feedback. These are all different batches which I do. Okay. Now apart from this, you have few more students, so you can check out about this. I've told you about this. Now you can even go to Google and search for my name. So if you go to Google, connect. So if you will go to Google, you will find this connect to tab. You can go and read the reviews. I mean, lately I have started taking reviews from my students, but they are not big in number. But if you read that, you will see with respect to how uh, the way I have conducted my trainings and how I have helped students. For example, this guy is Abhishek. He's from Infosys, I believe. Yeah, Abhishek from Infosys Pune. So he has talked about very interactive approach projects shared on hands-on during classes help us even with interviews and resume preparation. So there are a lot of people. You can Google this and check at your convenient time. Nitesh Verma, he also is also from Infosys. When it was an online class with him, online classes a week. He did not give his. This guy is from ADP. Anirudh Amle, I think he's from Capgemini. So you can read reviews from different people. This guy is from Symantec. Okay. So this guy Nivedita, she is from Cognizant. Ram Gupta is from Cognizant. Then Vaishali is Sparkless. This is KPIT. Anura Shivam. So there are a lot of people from Cognizant. Puneet is from Cognizant, and then Vaibhav is also from Cognizant. Nishant is also from Cognizant. Recently, Nishant, he was working with Cognizant. I think so 1 year back or some more than that, he learned Java from me, and he was having 7 years of manual experience. Now he has switched into automation as an automation lead. So it's like an achievement for me also, right? That I can help people switch from manual to automation testing. Like Sri Hari Sondur is also from Cognizant. Okay, Hardik Jani is also. So I have taught a lot of people from Cognizant. Okay, you can reach out to them and find out about me. Okay, now the last slide is what if you miss a class? I record all my sessions and they are on YouTube. Generally, what I do is that if you miss a class, I call you for separate session so that to help you cover up. The reason is that if you don't understand previous class, next becomes difficult for you and more difficult for me also. Okay, so I do extra classes for you online and face to face also. I call you for additional classes as and when it is possible for you and for me. Plus, you can go to YouTube. Here, if you'll go to YouTube, you can search my name, and there are a lot of videos available, uh, and all of them are live recording of the classes. So if you go to my channel, these are YouTube videos which I keep recording and I keep putting in here. So in case you want to revise a topic in future, you are more than welcome to access the videos and use it whenever you want to. Okay, and this session also I'm recording. I'll put it on YouTube after maybe an hour or so. So this is how I do. Plus, I will help you also write your CVs. So there are few CVs. I generally get a lot of mails from a lot of students. So if you will go to documents, these there are a lot of to get my documents. So I keep getting a lot of CVs to complete and work on. Okay, so I'll be helping you writing CVs as well, because when you are switching from manual to automation, you are confused as to what you should write, how you should write your CVs and all that. So I'll be helping you with all those things also. Okay, so that's pretty much I have the session. It was a long session. I believe it was useful to all of you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask your questions.